At the beginning of the film, we see the whole city decorated because of Christmas. All the houses were looking shiny and it was a beautiful scene, whereas there was a house that was not decorated. In that house, we see a father with 3 children. The children were getting angry with their dad and sad as well, because on Christmas Day, he was going to his work instead of spending time with his children. From their words, we come to know that the mother of the children has died. Now their dad is also going, and an old lady is called to look after them, who will take care of them, and in order to end up the sadness of the children, the old lady is narrating a story to them, just like I'm narrating a story to you. The story is of a boy who went on an adventure, a journey that was beautiful and dangerous as well. Now, in that story, we see a big forest in the snowy forest. This was covered with snow, and the child, Nikolas, lived with his dad. When both of them go into the forest to cut the wood, a giant bear was coming toward them. They become quite afraid to see him and return to their home. Here we come to know that Nikolas lost his mother in his childhood. Along with this, their financial condition wasn't stable. They were quite poor because they don't have many edible items nor any source of income. One night, Nikolas asks his father, "Dad, tell me any story." That is fantastic, and his dad tells him his mother's tale. Many years ago, your mom has crossed these snowy hills, and there were 2 sleeping monsters who were actually mountains. Your mom went to the other side after crossing them, where a unique kind of people lived who were called elves. This was the village of elves called Elfhelm. Elves are actually like humans, but their shape is a little bit different. It means their ears are a little longer and sharp. These elves were not ordinary people, but they had magical powers. They have treated your mom very well and have warmly welcomed her. When your mom returned, she had a lot of chocolates and toys that we distributed among the people around us. Because of this, happiness spread everywhere. During this time, they feel the presence of an animal in their room. Then his dad begins to find that animal by holding an axe to kill him. But they see that animal is a tiny rat. His dad tries to kill him, but all the time he keeps on escaping. Later, he leaves the rat at the behest of Nikolas, because the tiny rat seemed quite beautiful to him, and he wanted to make him his friend. The next morning, Nikolas names him, and he tries to talk to him, and he asks the rat to talk to him, and his dad says, "My son, rats can't speak." Later, the dad and son go to the king's palace, because he has invited all the villagers today. The king tells him that along with the hope, I've lost the aim of life, and the person who will help me bring hope and the aim of life. In exchange for it, I'll make him wealthy. The story that Nikolas's father has narrated to him has spread throughout the whole village. From this, people think the village of elves, Elfhelm, really exists, and after going there, they can bring hope, happiness, and the life aim for the king. In exchange for it, the king will make them a huge sum of money and they will be rich. A few villagers come to meet Nikolas's father and ask him to come with them, in which they'll find Elfhelm village and will become rich by the king's reward. Now, seeing his poverty, Nikolas's dad also agrees to go with them. When Nikolas finds this out, he becomes sad. But he relaxes him that I promise my son that I'll return within 7 or 8 days, and my sister will take care of you until I come back. His dad's sister comes and talks nicely with him in front of his dad. She treats him nicely, but when his dad went, she begins to show her real face. After taking control of his house, she treats Nikolas badly. She sends Nikolas out with his luggage. In his luggage, there was his doll that was made up of vegetables. It was very dear to him because his mom had made it. It was her last memento. Nikolas sets up a tent after coming out and spends the night outside with his friend Rat. Now, many days had passed, but his dad didn't come. So, he has also lost hope of his dad's return. He thinks that probably something bad has happened with his dad, as they were already having food scarcity. One day, his dad's sister serves him a delicious soup. Nikolas eats it with great delight. Then she tells him that she has made this soup with his doll. Hearing this, he becomes angry with her and begins to yell at her. Meanwhile, Nikolas looks at his burning cap that was also made up by his mom. He immediately brings the cap and puts off the fire with snow. He sees a map made on the cap that looks similar to the story his dad told, and he realizes that his mother's story was true. Elfhelm village really exists, where there is magic. So he decides that he will also go to that village. The next day, he starts his journey with his companion Rat. On the way, he was teaching new words to the rat, although he knows that he can't speak. After traveling all day long, He reaches a village where he meets an old lady. She asks him to return, and also that all your efforts will go waste. Elfhelm doesn't exist. Don't be lost in your search for it. But he doesn't listen to her and continues his journey. After traveling for many days, he takes shelter in a cave. And it was also snow, so he burns fire after rubbing a stone, and begins to pray that if magic really exists, then my rat begins to speak. Then his rat really begins to speak. Seeing this, Nikolas really becomes shocked. He was shocked, and his belief in magic also strengthened as well. Now, his rat friend was talking a lot so that he doesn't feel lonely. Later, when they were passing through a forest, a deer attacks them. In order to escape from it, Nikolas climbs on a tree. He sees an arrow stuck in the body of a stag, so she is that restless. He comes down from the tree, and he comes to her. He first loves her and then removes that arrow. The deer feels calm because she was in pain before. As Nikolas has saved her life, the deer looks at him with love. Later, he begins to go, but after going far across he sees that the deer is following him, and Nikolas stops her to follow him. He says that I only know where is my destiny, and I don't know how much time it will take. So, if you come with us, you'll die of hunger. But she was hungry for love, not for food, so she doesn't stop chasing him. And Nikolas, after joining her in his group, names her. It was the name of a place where he really liked to go. After sitting on the deer, he now moves on with his journey and reaches the sleeping monsters that were actually the mountains. His father told about this in his mother's story. It means Elfhelm village is located behind them. But after crossing the 3 mountains, as they go to the other side, they see nothing except for the snowy breeze. Meanwhile, Nikolas becomes unconscious and falls down because he hasn't eaten anything for many days and it was quite cold here. Meanwhile, a young girl comes with her grandfather. They were both elves, and when the old man sees Nikolas faint, then the girl says that we shouldn't leave anyone in trouble. We should undoubtedly assist anyone in need if they ask for our assistance. Hearing to this, her grandfather casts a spell on him, and he restores his senses. The old man has put faith magic on him. It indicates that whatever he will believe and consider with faith will happen surely. His faith will start to show. Nikolas tells him that I've come to find my dad, who'd come here in search of elves but hasn't returned. Later, he asks him, okay, now tell me, where is Elfhelm? On which the girl says that we're standing outside Elfhelm. And when he begins to think that Elfhelm village is in front of him, he actually begins to see Elfhelm in front of him. After coming inside, they take him to a party via secret way. Everyone was dancing there, and there were delicious edible things including sweets and leftover stuff. It was Christmas Day today there, and the rat becomes really happy to see it and enjoys a lot after getting into the food items. Meanwhile, the Queen of Elves comes there and destroyed everything because she has forbidden them from the party. The reason was that all the elves were quite sad because the humans have deceived them. They've taken an elf child with them after kidnapping him. Hearing this, Nikolas stands up and the queen becomes furious to see him. She says, still, a human child is here in our village. What is going on? Then she asks Nikolas, what are you doing here, and why you've come to steal another child. Hearing this, Nikolas tells her, no, I've not come to kidnap any child, but to find my dad who'd gone in search of Elfhelm village. Don't worry, I promise to bring that elf child back whom humans have kidnapped. But the queen doesn't listen to him, and to punish him she locks him at the top of a tomb. Here he meets a flying elf. Actually, she was an elf fairy who likes to explode firecrackers. But the queen has locked me in this tomb. I have to find my dad, so please help me to get out of this place.